How have you found sort of being and having to do it in the southwest? Because obviously, like I say, it's an area where there isn't loads of boxing going on. We've got a bit with myself and yourself down here. Obviously, you've got John Pittman and Akeem Ennis-Brown up in Gloucester. But then apart from that, I think, we've got Brad Pauls, who's a great fighter from Cornwall. But apart from that, there isn't loads going on in the southwest. How have you found sort of trying to transition it into a market down here where it isn't a mainstream sport, but something that is slowly growing, and with what you're doing in terms of the promotional shows and management, we will be seeing an influx and surge in sort of talent from this area. But, how hard is it sort of grasping that audience? Because it's one where boxing isn't massive and doesn't have loads going for it, but it does have the potential to have bits going for it.
Yeah, it's very different to London or Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, the big cities, because they'll have, like we did a card in Liverpool, we had the whole card full of Liverpool boxers, so the room was absolutely packed, and they may have bought a ticket to see their mate who was on first, but they stayed in for the whole night, so the venue was packed. It's very different. You're going to the southwest, because there's pockets of boxing, like Gloucester, there's only 2 or 3 boxers there. Swindon, there's only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 boxers here. I was speaking to somebody yesterday. He's got some boxes in Torquay and in Devon. The Sanagers, Chris Sanago, we're really good friends with and work with quite a lot. They've done some great work over at Bristol, and they're moving into Cardiff, and there's like a pocket of it there. But with Swindon, I think we were quite key in building up Swindon to the extent of the white collars were massive, and there were actually other companies that were doing the same and replicating what we were doing. And then which is where we came with the Fight Town brand, because we started to establish, and lots of boxers were turning over. So for a small sort of market town in the southwest, we had a lot of professional boxers here at one time. But like I said, it's hard. But boxing's brilliant on the grassroots level. There's no coincidence that a lot of these boxing gyms are right next to the council estates in deprived areas. In the best ones, in Swindon, where I'm from, they're the best boxing clubs over the years. Walcott, Park North, Park Youth, Penhill, right in the middle of the council estates, where there's just these kids who are, wandering in, thinking they're tough guys having a go, and some of them can make it through and then give themselves a career, get them out of trouble, so boxing's sort of like full of stories like that. But it's a hard area, the southwest, and I don't think a lot of the other areas. We go to York Hall, and we've got a really wide geographical area there. Everyone wants to fight at York Hall. They're all from various parts. Everyone around London is used to travelling all around. Swindon, if you say it's like Reading, it's a bit far, mate. Bristol, it's a bit far. London, everyone's travelling miles and miles around. So it's tough, and you're up against it. And of course, we started off in Swindon. It's our home show, and we did one there only last week. Like it's straightforward for us. It's quite easy for us because we know it really well. We put shows on in Swindon. We think we've done over 50 shows over the years in Swindon, so we know it really well. But when we're spreading out to different areas, it's a challenge. You sort of go to Gloucester. That was hard because there's not many, you're just trying to drag boxers in from Hereford and Gloucester, but it's difficult to make a full card. And if you're a boxer and you're quite good and you live in a small market town, Melksham or Trowbridge, or you're in Somerset somewhere, it's tough for these guys. Tough, but fortunately with promoters like us, we can scoop them up and give them an opportunity. If we weren't here, I don't know what these guys would do. Where would these Torquay and Devon guys fight if they couldn't come up to Swindon or the Hereford? That's a trek for expect them to get their fight fans to go all the way to London, isn't it?
Of course, and then sort of you talk about post-COVID for yourself. Obviously, I've seen a real resurgence and the production value, which is another thing that we'll go into. But what changed for you post-COVID? Was it just the fact that everything's been sitting around, nothing's been able to get done? Boxing wasn't able to, it wasn't just the COVID period that we were in lockdown, boxing wasn't able to go on for a long, long time, and when it was going on, it was broadcasted shows, and it was isolating in bubbles, 24 hours, negative test. When we were finally given the all clear to be able to start going out, events were allowed to go on again, what changed for you? Because the ante's clearly been upped and definitely gone up another level.
Well, it wasn't, and nothing necessarily changed during COVID. We were just about to go massive, just as COVID hit. Okay. That was our breakout year. We had a big show in the March. it was the end of March, and I think COVID was 20th or something. So I think it was that 2 weeks later, I think we had a show, or a week later. We were just about to go. And that just, obviously, the brakes got put on. Of course, I carried on working all the way through, and boxing stopped on that side of things. So when it sort of opened up again, right, let's go for it. And so we just sort of it was just a pause button, and as soon as we pressed play again, we were off. So that put a break on us, but it wasn't anything changed during that period. It's just a pause. So of course, when we've come back, we've just gone, and we knew it. The catalyst was, right, I want to go big. I've been doing 3-4 shows a year. Let's get big. Let's go. Next year, I want half a dozen shows. That was the plan. I took Kyle, my nephew, who's always been involved behind the scenes and helps us out on the day. I took him on permanently as an operations manager. I taught him how to do matchmaking, and he's now one of the best out there. What a star he's turned out to be. Gerard Hayter, I took him on as commercial manager to deal with all the marketing, the commercials, the sponsors, that sort of thing. I've already got people on retainers for my other businesses as well, media, PR, graphics. So we just joined it all together, said, right, let's go. Let's get a couple of shows in before the end of the year, and then we'll really go. And we came into 2022, thinking, right, we're going to do half a dozen shows this year, see how we get on. And it's now going to be on 14. 1 minute we're doing these small shows in a small hall venue in Swindon. Now we're at York Hall, we're at the rooftop in Liverpool, we're in Gloucester, we're spreading. People are coming up to us, right, can you put a show on in Watford? We want to do something. And also, can we do West London? Because we've got loads of boxes over there. And we're like, yeah, why not? And because there's no restriction on us, we can go wherever we like. And somebody said, can you come and put one on in Manchester? I've got loads of boxes and some great venues up here. Why not? So we're now gone. And the promotional market has changed, hasn't it? You've got Wassermans and Hearns and the Warrens. And but, then you look at the rest of the top 10. Few of them are sort of backing out of it now, and it's left some sort of, some spaces that we want to slot into. Because the money's difficult, York Hall's only restricted to 10 fights. Some of the old promoters there are just thinking, I'm not going to bother anymore. It's not as lucrative as it was. For me, it doesn't need to be really lucrative because I'm getting the boxers out, I'm building this relationship, I'm building the brand, and it's just another sort of cog, another piece in the puzzle for where we want to get to.
Something that has been noted at your shows is the production value. It's always, I remember when I went to the show at the Mecca at Swindon, it was the first time I'd ever been in the Mecca. I didn't really know what to expect. I think sometimes you can think Swindon and think, oh, I wonder what that's going to look like. But I turned up and it was genuinely, in terms of small hall venues, like one of the nicest I'd ever seen. All the posters were done really impressively. Everything just seemed quite, just high sort of class and above the sort of what you set for the standard for some of these shows. Yeah. How important was it for you to nail the production side of things? Because obviously you can turn up and there can be good fights on, etc., but there's a lot in the eye as well. You want to turn up and you want the graphics to be good. You want there to be good artwork about it. You want everything to be, even when it comes to just like barriers and what goes over the barrier, everything has to look slick. And that was something that we picked up from your shows. How important is the production value in sort of, I suppose it's one thing getting people in, but then it's also about keeping the fans in.
Oh, absolutely. This goes back to the unlicensed work holidays. We all spent a lot of money on production, and they look like pro shows. And the competitors were trying to do it, and they just never quite did it quite the same, never quite as good, never spent as much money. And I was under the impression, let's just get it right, get the fights right, get the production right, get people enjoying it, and next time there's a show, they will come. And that's what we did, and we've carried that over to the professional side. So one thing I always found is when I was looking at competitors' images on social media, there'd be a picture of a fight, and you'd look at that image, you wouldn't even know whose show. There's no branding. It could be anyone. It could be any one of half a dozen people. I knew the venue, I knew whose show it was. And yet you look at ours now, I think, all the boxes, every day they put all their pictures, their fans are in the crowd taking a picture. You'll see our logo, Neilson Boxing or Fight Town, is in that picture somewhere. So people will know these boxes are our boxes, that show is our show, the production looked really good. And I was moving forward and trying to build the brand, the Fight Town brand and the Neilson Boxing brand. That's really important that people can then, they look at that and think, yeah, that's good. that's a good show, and the managers and the boxers want to be on it. So for a boxer who's 1 minute he's fighting in some hotel conference room in front of 300 people with all the lights on, and then he comes to one of ours, which is full up with the production and the smoke and the lights, it makes them feel like, wow, that was a good show. I want to box on that again. When's your next dates, Mark?
Makes them feel like a special
So of course we can then cherry pick the boxers that we want to work with, because obviously, like in any sport, there's prima donnas and they're the ones who are difficult to deal with, the ones who value themselves far too highly when they've had 2 or 3 fights or whatever. So we can cherry pick who we want to deal with, and we want to deal with people who are straight, fair, honest, dedicated, committed, and have got some talent as well. And if we keep building these shows, that will keep growing. But the brand is really important, because we want everyone to know who we are. And as we get bigger and bigger, we're going to need that, because we're going to need more and more boxers. You can see it with some of the other promoters. Sometimes they get a bit big and their stable gets a bit thin, and then they struggle. We need our stable to grow of boxers, that not just our boxers, but other people's boxers that we work with. That as we grow, we've got enough. Because getting these fights on is the hard thing. We've got a 10 fight limit in York Hall. We need to fill that with 10 good fights all the time to make sure everyone pays their ticket money. And it's cost of living at the moment, it's hard for people. So we need to make sure they're getting value for money. And if they do that, they'll come to the next one, and they'll come to the next one. And also, it helps us with the sponsors. They see what they're getting return on their investment. They can see that there's a lot of people coming through the door. There's a lot of eyeballs on it. Their brand is being seen by a lot of people.